Okay, it's going. This is someone else's noise.
Someone's calling somebody.
Okay. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hi. So here we are in our second Google Hangout. We are glad to have those of you here that are here, and those of you that are not, we're glad that you can listen to the recording.
Yes.
It's early morning here. I hope that where you are, it's a little bit later, so you're a little bit more awake. And I wanted to start with just reading you a couple of paragraphs from a book that I really, really like called Better Than Before. And it's a book about habits. And a lot of the 90 days and what we're doing here is about habits. And we're little by little, very slowly introducing those habits because we know from neuroscience that you cannot learn a lot of things at once. And is it okay if I read?
Yes.
If my voice goes, Roland will take over. Okay, so this is about those times when we have started establishing a habit and we stumble. Something happens and we get interrupted. Okay. It's called the strategy of safeguards. And we'll talk about that in a bit. The strategy of safeguards can help us avoid breaking good habits. And just as important, it provides a way to deal effectively with lapses, those times when we falter in maintaining a good habit. As the Proverbs hold, a stumble may prevent a fall, and he that stumbles and does not quite fall gains a step. I remind myself that a stumble doesn't mean total failure. In fact, a stumble may be helpful because it shows me where I need to concentrate my efforts in order to do better next time. Planning for a stumble during habit formation almost seems like giving ourselves permission to stumble, but it's not. It's a way to protect a habit. When we do stumble, it's important not to judge ourselves harshly. Although some people assume that strong feelings of guilt or shame act as safeguards to help people stick to good habits, the opposite is true. People who feel less guilt and who show compassion towards themselves in the face of failure are better able to regain self-control, while people who feel deeply guilty and full of self-blame struggle more. Instead of viewing our stumbles as evidence that we're weak or undisciplined or lazy, we can see our stumbles as part of the habit formation process. Imagine a person who hasn't been taking his medicine. If he feels ashamed, he might avoid visiting the doctor. Or he could tell himself, it happens, we've all done it. I'll do it differently next time. Or what I do most days matters more than what I do once in a while. That kind of self-encouragement is a greater safeguard than self-blame. Indeed, guilt and shame about breaking a good habit can make people feel so bad that they seek to make themselves feel better by indulging in the very habit that made them feel bad in the first place.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Someone is receiving the call, I think.
Not me.
Yeah. Hi, Milenka.
Hi.
You can hear us now. That's awesome.
Beautiful.
I tried to the phone.
Yay. So this little paragraph that I shared is about how stumbling is a part of habit formation. It is not normal to decide to do a habit and be 100% strict. It's not possible. It's not human nature. But those very times that you do stumble give you insight into where you need to focus your efforts. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And the strategy of safeguards is saying, if something happens, then I'll do this. For example, if I go to a party and I eat some foods that are not a part of my plan, I will continue on my plan the next morning. If I get offered a muffin by a kid who made it and I can't say no, I'll have a little bite, and then the next meal I will eat as planned. And so I really hope that you take some time to hear this and really take it in and know that stumbling is a part of habit formation. And if you stumble, that's normal. We all do.
So planning for a stumble,
Planning for a stumble.
not planning to stumble.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
And
I would just say I shared that with you. That's what I went through yesterday, but I'm saying, okay, I'm going to go on today rightly because, thank you. I was prepared for this reading. By the stumbling I did last night, I was prepared for this reading.
right. Right. I was reading this I'm rereading this book. I'm reading it again because I like it so much. And I read through this page just yesterday, and I thought, what a great timing to share this with the group. Because what we see is 3 days to a week, we're very, very motivated, we're very gung-ho, and then life starts to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we are black and white kind of people with very extreme, a lot of us are perfectionists, I'm assuming in this group, just knowing some of you, it's very hard sometimes to get over a stumble. But it's not because the stumble is a big deal. A couple of 100 calories or some chocolate isn't going to kill you, but it's your attitude towards yourself that becomes toxic. Yeah. So little by little, learning together how to not be like that and be slightly more compassionate and know that that's normal. Great. So we're going to take some questions. Do you guys have any questions for today prepared?
You have been asked.
No.
Do I have to type it? Do I have to type it or just say it?
You can just say it. You can say it.
Okay, you've been asking about brain fog, whether somebody has a brain fog or so. Why is that?
Brain fog it's on the symptom tracker.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things that people assume is kind of like a part of life. I'm tired, or I'm breastfeeding, or I haven't been sleeping. But oftentimes brain fog comes with some immune system problems and leaky gut. Mm-hmm. So when the immune system is being irritated by some food substance that is not being properly digested, or because of the walls of the gut being more permeable, and that'll break the blood-brain barrier, and you often feel with food intolerances and with certain foods that you don't tolerate well, you will feel brain fog. So some people will eat a piece of pizza and will have bloating and gas and acid reflux, and they can connect it to the pizza. But if you just have brain fog and you can't focus, you never think of, oh, maybe it's the pizza. You think I'm tired or I didn't sleep enough. We usually don't connect food with mental performance and clarity.
Okay. The reason why I ask is because I started this program. I think I'm doing great. I'm following it. I'm eating the red food. But for some reason, last week, for the last week for maybe 2 or 3 days, I just had brain fog. I was just not able to reason. Yeah, I mean, to this extent that my supervisor said, I'm concerned about you because the type of products I was producing. I'm like, okay, does it have to do with my body trying to adjust to the changes, or what is going on?
This is slightly different.
Yeah, so there's 2 different kinds of brain fog, and they're totally different reasons. Okay. One is the one that Galina talked about, where there's something that your body is reacting to the condition of the food that you've had. The other one is when you take it away, and this is often from when your body is adjusting from a very high carbohydrate diet to a lower carbohydrate diet, and so your body is really has been focused for a long period of time on burning sugar for your energy and to produce the energy that your brain needs to work. And when it shifts more towards burning fat, which is a good thing, your brain hasn't fully adjusted yet. So, and your body just doesn't always feel great. So you have fatigue, physical fatigue, and mental fatigue, and that's another type of brain fog. But that goes away. We're not even on a particularly low carb diet. We're not recommending you go low carb. It's just going to be quite a bit lower than most people typically eat. But in the low carb communities out there, they have this thing that they call the low carb flu, which is this feeling of sort of just
like lethargy.
Malaise.
And like you can get muscle aches. It's almost like you're getting sick.
But it's because your body is transitioning from these really high carb, high sugar foods with a lot of inflammatory agents in them. And so your body is not only, and when you also, if you start to lose fat at a particularly high rate, your body takes all the toxins that are stored. I'm saying toxins like this. Right? Takes the things in your body, irritants that are stored in the fat cells, and as it breaks them down, those fat cells release all of the things that they're holding, not just fat, but things that can irritate your body as well into your bloodstream, and then your body has to work to cleanse those, and that can also lead to this feeling of both mental and physical not well-being. Malaise.
There was actually one more person. I'm just trying to get closer because I feel like we're yelling at the computer. There was one more person who was having similar symptoms, and she was breastfeeding at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because the demands of breastfeeding are so much higher, and she just forgot to eat carbohydrates, so we had to really up carbs for her last week. And this is just sort of an adjustment process, and I wouldn't want anyone to do a harsh adjustment while they're breastfeeding. But you know, any other of us that are not, like, there's not another human being relying on you making food for them, it usually will go away 3 to 5 days in most people. And how are you doing now, Philomena?
No, it went away. It went away.
Good.
But I was just wondering, I've never experienced that before. I was like, what's going on?
Yeah. Your body's like, why are you making me burn fat for energy? This is so foreign.
Okay, so yes.
Yeah. I just calculated yesterday that I have been eating like this for 12 years now. And because it's such a long, I've adapted over such a long period of time, it really, like, I never feel any of this anymore. But I remember back in the day, it was hard. I've had those flu-ish symptoms as well.
Me too. Like, I remember the first couple of times when I tried something like a really low carb diet, and like day 1 you're feeling great, day 2 you're feeling awesome, and day 3 you're like, I'm a little bit tired. Day 4 you're like just like crash. You're like, oh, it's like you haven't had your coffee ever. And it's like all day long, it's like you can't concentrate. You're sitting there trying to type something, and you just can't get any words out, and your fingers aren't hitting the right keys, and everything, and just like, what is going on? And it's like it's this. But then, like, if you just kind of let it go, it gets better.
It does get better.
Yeah.
Thank you, Philomena, for sharing. This is a great learning moment for everybody.
I don't get those. I don't get the flu, but I get a lot of sugar cravings.
You get a lot of sugar cravings?
Yeah.
Yeah. How are they right now? Like 2 weeks in?
I'm fine. I just make sure to have one serving of direct carbohydrate at any meal.
Okay.
I mean, once a day.
Yes. That's great. Especially evening. It sounds like for most people who get sugar cravings, evening is a good time to have your carbohydrates.
That's when I'm doing it usually.
Yeah, and there's this, there's so many vegetables that have a sweet taste. You have squash, you have beets, cooked onions, and those foods, because they have so much flavor and so many phytonutrients in them, and you can put a little bit of cinnamon on the squash, it can really help to curb those cravings. Because what are sugar cravings? They're just a way for your body to tell you that it needs energy. And if you give your body the wrong kind of energy, if you have a whole bar of chocolate, then you dysregulate the system even more. So giving your body the right kind of energy that it can recognize that it can actually nourish you instead of deprive you of, you know, your energy that will help reproduce cells and will heal your immune system. It's just so cool to say, hey, I'm just going to have some carbs.
There's also, for me, when I go stricter on my diet for a while, it is important for me to recognize that those are the times when I might need to go to bed earlier, because my willpower, everyone's willpower, is weakest in the morning. I can go to bed, at night, go to bed. My willpower is weakest at night because you've had all day. So first of all, you're just tired, and your brain only has the capability to make so many good decisions throughout the day. And I think they're talking about, was it like 5,000, on average, 5,000 tiny little decisions that you make throughout the day on everything. Is that enough coffee? Is that enough cream? Is that, should I get up now? Should I snooze? Like, everything adds up, and every time you do it, it makes the next decision a little bit harder. So, and then you don't have the willpower to resist. And then when you add in when you're tired or still a little bit hungry, it makes it even harder. So I found that during at least the first couple of days, when I'm or if I find myself really having repeated cravings at night, that it's never I never crave like a chicken breast or eggs or even nuts. I crave something sweet. And that's the time when I realize I just got to go to bed. Because in the morning, even though I haven't eaten anything, I wake up in the morning, I'm not hungry. I'm perfectly willing to resist all of the things, and I don't even crave those things again in the morning.
There's some really cool scientific work on willpower and how willpower is a finite resource. So you kind of wake up with a full tank. That's why it's so easy to have a good breakfast. But then you have to use your willpower to have a conversation at work, or to be patient with a friend who's being unreasonable, or to be, to say yes when you actually want to say no. So you have all of those times that you have used your willpower for something. And there's a really, really cool study where they put two groups of people in a room that smelled like cookies, freshly baked chocolate chip cookies. And they gave one of the groups a bowl of cookies and said, just eat them. And the other group, they gave a bowl of radishes. And they said, even though it smells like cookies, we want you to eat these radishes, right? Don't touch the cookies, eat the radishes. And then they took the same two groups, the cookie group and the radish group, and put them in a room to do mathematical equations. They gave them mathematical equations that were absolutely unsolvable. So you go and you go and you go, and after a while you just give up because it's stupid and it's not going anywhere. The group that had eaten the cookies, I think they went for about 25, 30 minutes, and the group that had eaten the radishes barely made it 15 minutes. Because their willpower was already spent on not eating cookies, don't eat the cookies, eat the radishes, then they didn't have the willpower to make themselves solve this stupid mathematical equation. And it goes for everything. It's been done over and over again with mice and with humans, where willpower is a finite resource. So you have more in the morning, you have less in the evening. And that's why it's so important to make good habits easy and bad habits hard. So if you have a habit of always having a piece of chocolate at night before you go to bed, and you know that that habit probably doesn't serve you well, then why do you have chocolate in your house? Get that thing out of the house so you make your good habit easy. get some rooibos tea, get some chai tea that has flavor. You can make that at night, which now your good habit is easy. You have the good tea around, and the habit that we're going to call bad habit, because we're working on that, you will make that habit hard. Hope that makes sense. Yeah?
To me.
Cool. Does anyone else have a question?
Some evenings I'm not hungry. I'm just not hungry. I had 1 or 2 evenings that I was not hungry.
Okay, that's a good side effect, I would imagine. Imagine if your body has excess fat, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now it has all the enzymes it needs to burn the fat for energy. You have some fat floating around, and you're eating that, right? That's how weight loss happens. And that's probably dropping your appetite quite a bit. So I wouldn't skip a meal, but maybe just eat a little bit instead of a lot.
Okay.
What has been your experience? What has worked for you on those days?
On those 2 days, one of them I just ate a handful. Are you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing. I'm just tinkering with Mary's unmute.
Okay.
I can't unmute her. Mary, if you can unmute yourself, try that. Philomena, I'm hearing you.
Okay, I just ate about 2 handfuls of almond seeds, raw almonds, and I was fine. Because I was worried that I didn't eat protein. Because my plan is to have protein on all meals. So I just wasn't hungry.
You know, I think that's probably okay. I wouldn't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't worry about it. I would imagine your body self-regulates. So maybe you won't be hungry for 3 days, and then on the 4th day you will be hungry. And it's also possible if you're not getting enough physical activity, right, that just doesn't get regulated. But let's just keep observing that and see how it goes for you. I would say if you're not hungry, have some vegetables, because what a great way to, if you're not hungry, just have a little bit of calories, a little bit of something versus a lot, because 2 handfuls of almonds, maybe, just giving you a bunch of fat, and you have maybe enough fat floating around in your system because you're not hungry. So maybe just having some vegetables.
I would also say keep track of these times when you're not hungry. The next meal that you have after, are you really hungry? Are you like ravenously hungry? Or do you feel like, oh, I can eat a normal meal and I'm not. Like sometimes when I skip a meal, I feel fine when I skip the meal. And then the next meal, it's coming up to mealtime and I'm almost like panicky because my blood sugar has crashed and now I feel like, oh my gosh, I really have to eat something. So yeah. That's the danger, I guess.
I would say less appetite in the beginning, for sure. In my experience, has always been body's burning fat for energy. You have excess fat. You're all good. You're all good.
Yeah, I only had it for 2 evenings.
Yeah, just keep track of it. Stay on top of it. Keep logging, and we'll just keep observing it and commenting on it.
Okay.
Yeah, and Mary was saying the same thing, that she hasn't been hungry. Mary, you've been through so much with medical stuff though in the last 2 weeks. Let's wait.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And just see. If you think of how nature solves this problem, it's so different than how we are. These breakfast, lunch, snack, dinner. We have these structures of our days because we're structured around our work. That's like an industrial revolution thing that happened. But if you look at how nature solves it, there's food you eat, there's no food you don't eat. It's a lot more erratic. So we do have the capacity to adapt to not having all the calories at one meal, and you don't need to micromanage so much.
Thanks.
Yeah, cool. We're gonna answer a question that came via email, and the question is: imagine that you don't have weight to lose. There are people like that in our 90-day reboot who are not doing this to lose weight. They're doing it to learn how to have a healthier lifestyle. What are the benefits of the 30 days, the first 30 days of the more elimination style eating for somebody who doesn't have weight to lose? And we're just going to answer that. Do you want to start?
Yeah, I would say that if you think about, the primary thing that I think about is long-term health. So, primary thing is long-term health. So we all know people that have, in their later years, have gotten sick, or they're gotten frail, osteoporosis. They're losing too much weight when they're older, things like that, or getting overweight later on down in the years. And establishing these healthy eating patterns now has great effects going forward. So we live in a world where it's like we're surrounded by low quality food. There are chemicals everywhere. There's chemicals everywhere anyway, but there's like bad chemicals. You have cleaning materials, like electronics that we get have things, plastics, all these things. They all contribute to some degree like a low level of problems to our body. And one of the best ways to combat that is to put the highest quality food into our body. How's that to start?
It's great. It's great to start. It's also a way to kind of come back to a more, I'm going to call it more natural way of eating, because so much has happened in the last 30 years in the American diet where we're eating manufactured food versus food that has been grown or has been raised. There are over 500,000 products in supermarket chains, and most of them are produced, they're manufactured industrially in some way. A lot of them have corn and soy. A lot of them rely on these ingredients that are filling, but they don't have high nutrient quality. They don't have good nutrient density. They're calorie dense, but they're not nutrient dense. And the problem sometimes isn't just what you're eating, but also what you're not eating. So when you have a breakfast at a fast food place and you get a little egg McMuffin, you are getting highly processed food, but in that same meal you're also not getting certain foods that you'd be getting if you were eating at home. You'd be having fruits, vegetables, high quality fats. You'd be eating an egg that was from a free-roaming chicken, and it would have plenty of vitamins in the yolk. And what happens over time is we get these nutrient deficiencies. So we're deficient on zinc, or we're deficient in vitamin A or vitamin D. And what happens is people start taking supplements. The supplement industry is huge. I have a client who spends $2,800 a month on supplements for his family. His wife, him, and the 2 kids. That's like, I can't even do the math. Like, you could probably have a small school in a third world country helping kids learn and graduate and be ready for life on that money that just that family spends on supplements every month. And the reason why people are motivated to make those expenses is because they're lacking those nutrients. They draw their blood, they look at their health, they're like, man, you're falling apart. It's a lifetime of not eating well. You look at meat. We eat lunch meat in our sandwich. Our ancestors ate the whole animal, nose to tail. The whole animal got eaten, and that helped get all the nutrients that we needed. So somebody who doesn't have weight to lose, who's undernourished because of eating like a typical American diet, will benefit greatly from adding healthy fats, removing industrial fats, adding lots of vegetables and fruits, and learning how to prepare food at home. You have a lot of control. You can have organic food at every meal, and you end up saving money too, both on the supplements and on eating out, where you're actually paying someone else to make you food that's going to make you sick. Then you have to pay someone to heal you from because of your behaviors. It's just kind of a ridiculous kind of behavior that we have. And another thing, our brains are so susceptible to the effects of food. So you have sugar, you have different chemicals. Burger King has a shake that has like 50 chemicals just in the strawberry flavoring, right? So we have all these chemicals that are constantly coming in, and they start to light up our brain like a disco. Your brain is very susceptible. That's why you think about sugar. That's why when you give your 2-year-old cake, the 2-year-old wants cake the next week because the brain is searching for that reward. Do you want to talk a little bit about palatability and reward?
Yeah, and before I forget, there's a really interesting video. It's a little bit longer than the normal one, so I'm going to post it in the Facebook group. And so what this talks about is the science of palatability, or the scientists who come up with the food or tweak the foods in such a way to make them more addictive. Mm-hmm. Like, the word addictive is sort of like people say, oh, it's not truly an addiction. Well, I don't really care whether it's truly an addiction or whether it's like an addiction or whether it's similar. But the fact is that they're taking these scientists, and it was on 60 Minutes. It's a really good thing to watch.
We'll email it.
We will send it out.
I'm going to make a note.
Great. So what happens is there's a term called palatability, and that's like, oh, how does the food feel in your mouth? How does it taste? And how does it make you react to it? But there's palatability, and then there's this concept called hyperpalatability. Hyperpalatability is when something is affecting you almost like on a subconscious level. So you can all have a dessert that's delicious, and you want to have more of that. Somebody makes you cheesecake or apple pie. Your grandmother makes it. You go, oh, this is so good, and you want to have it. And then like a couple of days later, you might be at a convenience store or a grocery store, and you'll pick up like the generic mass-produced version of apple pie, like one of those little packages of an apple pie that's sort of deep fried, or a McDonald's fried apple pie. I think we all know that these are not as delicious as the ones that Grandma made you the other day. It's not fresh, it's not crispy, it doesn't have a delicious crust the same way, but for some reason you still crave this thing, and you like this thing, and you want more and more of these things. There's something subconscious going on, both in because of the types of chemicals have been designed, or the types of chemicals that have been designed to light up certain parts of your brain have been concentrated in this food product. And not just this one, but in similar ones. So it's setting your body and your emotions and your brain up for these certain expectations. So when you see this type of food in the store again, you want that. Or even like, oh, I'm in a gas station. How I know that? I know the gas station has the types of things that are going to light up my brain. It's not always on a conscious level. It's mostly on a subconscious level, but it gets you to pull out your wallet and go buy this food that isn't all that delicious to begin with, but your brain doesn't know any better.
Everyone has probably experienced this hyper palatability thing in their daily life. You can take raw, like unfiltered cacao powder, right? Or cocoa powder. What do you call it in English? Cocoa powder.
Well, cocoa powder, yeah. Let's say cocoa powder.
Whatever chocolate's made of, right? So you're going to take that powder, and you're going at home, you're going to mix it with milk and with some honey, put some butter in there, and mix it, and you're going to make your homemade chocolate. And you have 2 pieces of that, and you're like, I'm done. Like, that's enough. But you go and get some of those Lind balls, the little truffles. They are hard on the outside, and as that hard shell melts, the inside starts to ooze out in a very soft and creamy way. You can't do this at home. And it's hyperpalatable because your tongue, I'm salivating as I'm talking about it, your tongue and your mouth, there's a specific mouth feel. There's a certain expectation. There's a certain surprise as the inside starts to ooze out. And it's been specifically formulated that you can't have just one. And, you know, it's like potato chips. No one can eat just one. Like, it's in their logo, right? It's on their packaging. You can't just eat one. It's like they're taunting you. Try it. Eat just one. You can't do it. So those hyperpalatable foods, they hijack your brain. So now every time you have them, you experience reward, right? There's a pleasant feeling. And so those foods are both palatable and rewarding. And this is how we form a habit that becomes an addiction. By doing programs like our program is not the only program that does this. There's probably 10,000 programs on the market that help you limit artificial food, limit packaged food, eat real food. And what happens in that month, or more than a month, depending on the program, is you get rid of that dependence. So now the hyperpalatable food is no longer as attractive, and now you're also not hungry because you have fed yourself all these good nutrients over a month. So you can make better decisions because you're not starving for nutrients. And you often find after a program like this, you eat something that you used to like, and it won't be the same. Like, you have Coke again after this, and you'll be like, oh, I don't really like this. It's because you've broken the addiction cycle. And I do a 30-day elimination probably 3 or 4 times a year. And what that helps me do is it helps me stay grounded in those foods that nature intended for us to eat. And then the rest of the time, if I have something else, then so be it. It's okay. I have buffer. I can take it. I don't get addicted. I don't get bossed around by a piece of pie. And I think that is great power. I think it's very empowering. Last just little piece here, and why it's good for someone who doesn't have weight to lose to do something like this, is you're not only going to learn really good habits of how to maintain your health long term, but also we only think of food as like food we eat for ourselves. However, there's so many other organisms who live inside of us. There are pounds upon pounds of beneficial bacteria that live in your colon. And those bacteria regulate hormones, regulate neurotransmitters. They help you process foods that are not processable, and they may use carbohydrates to make a specific kind of fat that then comes back in your bloodstream. They work for us all day long. That's why people take probiotics, right? You take these organisms that once they come in your digestive tract, they help your immune system and a host of other things. And by eating the modern diet, those little guys starve. By eating a diet that's higher in fiber, higher in vegetables, higher in non-processed food, we can feed those beneficial bacteria so that they can work for us. So if you're eating a standard American diet, you may be feeding the so-called bad bacteria that live in there, like fungi, other opportunistic bacteria that may live in there, anaerobic bacteria that lives in your gut. But if you eat enough good food, there's enough of the good guys to fight them off and keep a balance. And I think those are kind of enough benefits of
also,
doing
I just
that.
want to point out that that it's not always about now, but it is an investment. So just like you save money for the future, this is something that you could feel super healthy now, but our bodies change, and the longer we go eating good food or bad food, the more we have a long-term effect that we're not going to feel for maybe for years. I mean, you could eat bad food for a couple of years and then feel negative effects, and suddenly you look down and you're overweight. But it might take 10, 20 years. So you want to be healthy in order to retire, have kids, grandkids, great-grandkids, and the best way to do that is to get healthy now and keep it that way.
Very cool. All right, so those are all the questions that we had that we wanted to address. Is there anything else coming up that you guys want to ask?
What happens after the 30 days?
What happens after the 30 days is we're going to start introducing habits that will help you maintain what you've already established as a style of eating. So we'll learn things like eating slowly, or being mindful about food, or preparing food in certain ways, or moving in certain ways. At the end of the 90 days, you are not going to go back to how you started in the beginning of January. Oh, we're done. Back to pizza.
And at the end of the 30 days, right? So 30 days comes before 90. So at the end of the 30 days, you don't just say, okay, that was my 30 days of real food. Now I'm going to go back to something totally different. But on the other hand, you don't have to be as strict as you are in the 30 days, but don't just go off of it, because we're going to give you the right way to go off of the 30 days, or to slowly, let's not say go off of it, because you want to stick with this real food thing. But we want to give you strategies and techniques that allow you to add some of the things that you might want to add back into your life, and might want to try adding back into your life in a way that lets you see the results of this food being reintroduced.
Yeah, say that you eliminated oatmeal, like you had oatmeal every morning before work, and now the 30 days is over and you're going to reintroduce oatmeal in a regular serving, and you're going to see how it affects you. You may go, wow, I have incredible energy, I feel awesome. Or you may get a stomach ache and brain fog. And so you're learning about your body and oatmeal. So at the end of the 30 days, you have kind of this clean slate where you have to do a little bit more me-search, a little bit more researching how you're doing with certain foods and certain habits. But over the whole 90 days, we're ramping you up into a different lifestyle. And at the end of the 90 days, you're already walking more. You're taking dynamic breaks at work. You are maybe doing some strength training exercises. We'll be introducing all of those throughout, so that at the end you do have a new lifestyle that helps you maintain the weight that you reached if weight was your goal, or that helps you just keep up these good habits if weight wasn't your goal.
All right, thanks. Sounds good.
Yeah, we just finished doing a little, like a thing you can print and stick on your fridge for the 90-day group that we just finished with in December. So they started in October and ended in December. And we have all the habits that we introduced that they will just keep mindful of throughout the rest of the year. And it's incredible how many there are, yet how little they are. And once you have adjusted to those, how easy it is to just cruise.
If someone is if someone is on a lot of supplements, like you indicated, is it advisable to do the 30-day elimination?
If somebody's on a lot of supplements,
Right.
Are they on a lot of supplements because they have a condition, or is it just to replace like a multivitamin or fish oil or vitamin D?
Yes, that, and also because probably they have some health problem.
Yeah, I would say if somebody has been prescribed supplements by either like a functional medicine doctor or their regular medical practitioner, I would always, especially if there's a health condition like high blood pressure or osteoporosis, anything like that, I would always consult the doctor before I do anything.
Okay.
That's why it's good to work with, closely with your medical professional and just inform them. I think that a 30-day plan is fantastic for everyone who wants to include more vegetables, who wants to eat more healthy, just more nutritious food, and maybe certain things like, if you're eating enough fish, why take an omega-3 supplement? If you are eating enough 9-10 cups of fruits and vegetables a day, why do you need to take a multivitamin, right? So if you're eating enough, then you may be able to cross those out of the list, some of them off the list.
Okay.
Yeah, but always consult, and we are our own advocates. We are responsible for our own health, but there are people to support us in a way that's the best.
Right.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Cool. So just a couple of things in the last few minutes.
You want to talk about
Yeah.
drinks?
I wanted to spend a little bit of time today talking about drinks. I don't know how drinks are in your life, but when we introduced the 30 days, we have this, on the red list is like no sugar, no artificial sweeteners. So oftentimes people are used to having some soda or some tea with honey, or some sort of a healthy drink like a prepared juice from the store that's very high in sugar. So if we drop you from there directly to just only drink water for a month, it's kind of hard. And at the same time, that's not necessary, because there's so many drinks that are based in nature that can help you actually do better. So I wanted to mention a few drinks that you may be already having or you may want to consider adding. And those are especially great in the morning as you start your day, and they sort of set up the mood, they sort of set up the spirit for, I'm doing this healthy behavior in the morning, it's my morning ritual, and now my day goes differently.
Well, I'd also add that for some of these drinks, especially the ones that don't have any caffeine, it can replace, for a lot of us, dessert has been a ritual, or snacking while watching television has been a ritual. It may not be like a ritual like, oh, do you have any rituals? Yeah, here's I snack after meals. But in your mind, it's similar. Like, oh, you come to expect having time to snack after your meals. You come to expect having a treat or a dessert at night. So even though it's not exactly the same, you can replace that feeling of ritual with a new ritual, which is both healthy and can help you curb some of your sugary cravings.
Yes, so I'm going to give you my top 5. In the morning, one of the things that you can do is just to have a glass of water, not super cold, just a glass of water, like warm, slightly warm or room temperature, with a pinch of sea salt or a pinch of Himalayan salt. And you can just stir it. It doesn't have to be salty. It's just a tiny little bit. And that helps your body absorb more of the water. It's easier to hydrate. You've all heard of sports drinks and electrolyte drinks. They all have sodium in them. So just put a little bit of a natural salt in there. That also helps with stress and your adrenals. People who notice that they have a lot of stress or they have trouble sleeping, they do incredibly well with a pinch of salt in their water. And if you look up on the internet, if you look up Himalayan salt and water or Celtic sea salt and water, you see a lot of recipes for how to prepare a drink that just sits in your cupboard, and you can just have some of that in the morning. Another wonderful thing that you can have in the morning or any time is ginger tea. And you prepare the ginger tea from the root of the ginger. It's a rhizome, so it kind of looks like
a hand.
Like a hand. It looks kind of funky. And it's a juicy rhizome that's also very rich in oils and aromatics. And everybody smelled ginger. It's so wonderful. And what you do is you just boil some water, and maybe you don't need more than this much ginger, just like a little, like a half an inch of ginger, and peel it, chop it up in small pieces, and just steep it in hot water for a few minutes. And ginger is a fantastic way to aid digestion. It helps you digest better, and it also helps the immune system, and it's great in winter. Those people that tend to feel kind of like their food sits in their stomach, like there's a heaviness, that's really, really, really helpful. It's also awesome for morning sickness for those people who are pregnant or have somebody pregnant around them. Another drink that I love is green tea. Green tea is really well researched, and it is very, very rich in antioxidants, and it's very helpful for people with unstable blood sugar, people with diabetes, people with high cholesterol, and any sort of cardiovascular system challenges. So adding 1 or 2 cups of green tea during the day is awesome. It can also replace coffee because it's slightly stimulating. And if you want a little bit less caffeine, you can do white tea, which is just an earlier stage of the tea plant, so before the leaves have opened up. So it's a little bit even smaller, undeveloped leaves.
They also have decaf green tea, which
yes.
as long as you get a good quality one, it's been decaffeinated just like good coffee has been decaffeinated. Yes. So with a water process, not with chemicals. So you can try that. Personally, I don't like green tea. I like the health effects of the green tea, but I don't like the way green tea tastes unless it's mixed with some other teas. Sometimes I do like
a jasmine green tea.
Yeah, so sometimes I'll take green tea in black tea bags and make like a iced tea and have it like that, or you can even reheat that and use it as a tea. And I just don't like the taste of the green tea very much. I like white tea, black tea. Yeah, but you also mentioned replacing your coffee. And one of the other things that has a lot of antioxidants is coffee. So coffee gets a lot of a bad rap, but coffee has more antioxidants, but different ones than green tea and other types of tea. So don't be afraid of having coffee. There's been plenty of studies to show that in moderation it is healthy, and there's some really good decaffeinated coffees these days too.
Yes. And last thing, see if you can use some of the herbs that you have for cooking to make a fresh herbal tea. I have a lot of mint right now. It's the perfect season for mint. Is just going crazy. So just take some mint and I'll chop it up and I'll just steep it in some hot water, and it's just a really nice fresh way to use herbs. You can do this with any of the herbs you use for cooking. You can do it with oregano, you can do it with thyme, you can do it with lemongrass, so anything sage. So say that you bought a whole bunch of herbs, then you're not using all of them for your meals. You can totally just steep them in some hot water, and they're so wonderful. And you can make a different flavor every time that you're cooking something. Do you want to talk about kombucha and close it?
Yeah, so kombucha is a popular health drink the last couple of years, and you're seeing more and more of it in grocery stores or Whole Foods or Sprouts. And what kombucha is it's a fermented drink. It's made with tea that with this big thing that kind of looks like a mushroom. So, but by the time you get it in a jar or in a bottle, that mushroom has been filtered out. So it's just the liquid, and it sometimes has a little bit of like sediment at the bottom, but it's a little bit sour, a little bit sweet, and what it supplies to you is, again, those same probiotics, the same beneficial bacteria that can sort of replenish that gut microbiome in your body. But it's a nice way. It's not too sweet, but it does have enough of a little bit of a sweetness to sort of take the edge off. It's a healthy drink. You just have to be careful because a lot of them at the store are filled with juice. So they take kombucha and add it with juice. So you want to look for one that has, some have like use stevia as a sweetener, and you might 5 to 10 calories per serving. That would be like the best one. There are some that are like 35 calories per serving, 35, 40. So that
wouldn't go above that.
Yeah, so that's about the limit right there. And you get a bottle of that, maybe sip half it, like 1 serving per day. And it's a great way to add a little bit of a health, and it's really a pleasant taste.
Yeah, it has a little bit of like a beer carbonation in it as well. It's fizzy. We make our own at home, and Roland makes fantastic kombucha.
Yeah, you're going to see that it's kind of expensive. It's like $2.50 a bottle, $3 a bottle, and at some of these stores it's even more. So don't develop a habit, but know that if you're that's a good sort of a treat drink you can have every once in a while. That's healthy for you.
And that's it.
Yeah.
I think that is all. I hope that this was helpful and we got to answer some questions. And as always, it's really wonderful to see your faces and to hear your voices.
As always, if you have any other questions, feel free to put them in the Facebook group, send us an email. We don't have to always wait for these Hangouts to answer your questions. So, yeah, so until next time.
Yeah, a couple weeks.
Yeah. So today is Saturday, and we are going to go for a little walk and enjoy the weather. It looks like it's starting to get California cold today, so we're going to enjoy it before the temperature drops down below 60.
I hope everyone has a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
See you next time.